you varmint!
What you getting your bristles up about, Pearl?
Varmint is an objectionable animal. It's the same thing as vermin, which also is objectionable animals, like rats, squirrels, pigeons, roaches, things that infest people's houses and in their environments and makes them unhappy. These are also typically animals that cause disease, like rats especially. So these are all vermin. And then varmint sort of takes on an additional meaning, a more ironic meaning, particularly in a country sense of the word, because a varmint will be used to refer to an undesirable person. So if somebody wants you off their property, they'll say, "Get, varmint," and that means you better get moving, or else they'll treat you like vermin, which apparently back in the olden days they actually would do that. They were, a lot of pretty mean-spirited people back then. Typically, if varmint or vermin, along with being used to describe animals, can also be used to describe people too, who would be considered to be undesirable, especially criminals or people that are troublemakers. These people can also be called pests, parasites, undesirables, or lowlifes, or riffraff. So in this context, the woman is sitting at the table with a group of people, and one of the men is talking to her in a way that she does not like. So she throws a pie in his face and says, "You varmint," and then she leaves the room. So if you call someone vermin, that's a pretty mean way of talking to people, because you're comparing them to a rat or to cockroaches or some other kind of despicable animal. Varmint is a little more ironic, and it would sort of refer to this kind of southern way of talking about people, or some guy in the country with a shotgun goes out shooting squirrels. So you can say he's a varmint in an ironic way, and might be acceptable to say that. So typically nowadays people won't call other people varmints. They'll call them asshole or jackass or jerk or idiot. These are all reasonable insults to call people. After natural disasters, quite often people go into the disaster areas and they start looting the properties. And this has been troublesome to a lot of people for a long time. And a very common way of looking at these people is as vermin. And back in the olden days, they actually used to shoot looters, believe it or not. They'd have signs, they'd say, "Looters will be shot." So anybody that went in and started stealing things, they could typically get shot. Up until fairly recently, actually, when they decided that human life was more important than trying to stop these people. I was living a few years ago, there was some varmint that was living in my house. I would be sleeping and I'd hear this kind of tapping, and I wasn't really sure what it was, whether it was a squirrel or whether it was a raccoon, or maybe it was even a skunk. I don't really know. But then I called up the exterminator and they took care of the varmint. ESL-fullsteamahead.com